Headlines: President Mahama inaugurates 15 new buses for intercity STC.
Kajeji Senior High School appeals for more educational infrastructure. Hello, good evening, and thanks so much for joining us. This is News Hour Live on GBC24. We are also live on Ghana Television. My name is Akbene Avo Ajaja.
And I am Micheline Taka. You welcome to the main nation. President John Mahama has inaugurated 50 new buses acquired by the management of the Intercity State Transport Company, STC, in Accra.
The new buses is to augment the fleet of STC after the State Transport Company suffered severe setbacks a few years ago. The buses were acquired through internally generated funds and public-private partnership arrangements with Scania Ghana.
State Transport Corporation, popularly called STC, is poised to claw back its place in the competitive commercial transport sector. Its new fleet is to provide safe, reliable and convenient transport by road, which is by far the most popular means of transportation in Ghana. Quality service delivery was the hallmark of STC in its original sense, and the past now merges with the present, which offers ultra-modern coaches. The latest acquisitions by STC is part of government policy to improve on public transportation. The route of Intercity STC dates back to 1909 as a government transport department to cater for the needs of the central government. On March 1965, it was given corporate status by a legislative instrument to run commercial passenger services. Thus, it assumed the name State Transport Corporation. STC was hard hit by competition and almost lost all its customers to the private transport companies. The company then went into an agreement with Scania Ghana to acquire new buses for the corporation. The 44 and 50-seater buses have facilities like Wi-Fi, ports for charging phones, washrooms, coffee maker, a fridge, and television sets. The buses are fitted with 6 security camera screens, with 2 in the front, 2 in the middle, and 2 at the back. The buses are also fitted with tracking devices to ensure security for passengers on board. Passengers can book their seats using online ticketing system. The managing director of STC, Mr. Samuel Nyuamadonko, said some of the buses would ply international routes from which STC had receded.
Our international routes are still the backbone of our operations.
Are they viable?
Very viable. In fact, we are operating from Abidjan, Cotonou, Lomé, and then Ouagadougou. We're still very functional in these countries. We intend reopening the Lagos route very soon, in about maybe 2-3 weeks. We'll start with the smaller buses and then we'll follow with the big buses.
President Mahama reiterated that state enterprises can run efficiently as privately owned companies if people attach commitment to their responsibilities. He urged management and staff of STC to take after-sales services seriously.
There's a certain perception that the state cannot run a business and that state enterprises are basket cases and that whatever happens, state enterprises will not make profits and there will be a drain on the economy. I don't believe so. I believe that state enterprises can run just as efficiently as private sector companies. Government does not want any profit from you. You are a limited liability company. If you make profit, you plow it back into your operations and expand your operations. We are only interested in the service you render to the Ghanaian public. Half of your revenue and your profits is yours to do whatever you want with. As long as you and your board agree, this is what we want to do, want to increase our pay, that is your business. But we want you to be able to break even and stand on your own 2 feet. That's all I'm asking you as president.
The competition is on in the public transport sector. With so many alternatives in the frame, passengers are spoiled for choice. The government says it will revamp all units within the transport sector to improve on commerce and national development. Beatrice Senaju, GBC24, Accra.
Vice President Kwesi Mr. Arthur says the NPP manifesto is not only impossible to implement, but will also grind the economy into its knees. He was speaking at a political lecture at two separate events during his campaign tour of the Central Region.
There are two lectures, one on the Cape Coast Polytechnic campus and another with the Asin Fosu College of Education, were to do some academic analysis of pertinent political situations in the country. The encounter with the Polytechnic students hinged on the two dominant political ideologies in the country: social democracy of the NDC, which believes in equitable distribution of state resources among citizens, and the MPP's capitalism, which, according to Mr. Arthur, believes in concentrating wealth in the hands of a few people who in turn use the poor majority to make more riches. He also delved into the 2016 manifesto of the NDC, which anchors on investing in people, infrastructure, open and accountable governance, with a sharp focus on job creation should the party be voted for on December 7. To him, this provides hope for especially the youth, as it builds on its solid infrastructural base of the first Mahama administration.
In the manifesto that they have published, they have put in about 63 proposals. 8 of them are revenue proposals in which they reduce revenues. And when I calculate the cost, the revenue loss that their manifesto proposes, I get something like 6.2 billion cedis if they were running the government this year, from the reductions in tax rates and so on. In addition, they have also introduced 21 billion of new expenditures. 21 billion. So together, with the loss of revenue and with the increase in expenditure, we are talking of an additional 27 billion cedis, Ghana cedis, of fiscal deficit that they are introducing into the economy. And so, for people who are criticizing us for creating instability in the macroeconomy, for them to come out, not stop one of the social interventions that the NDC is doing, they are adopting all the programs that we have. In addition, they are adding 27 billion Ghana cedis of additional resources into the nation. That translates, in my view, given this year's gross domestic product, into something close to 20% of fiscal deficit that they are introducing into this country. That is the most unstable development that we'll ever see in our country. So their manifesto itself is an admission of failure even at the beginning.
He said, though governance is a serious business, the NPP's manifesto is insincere with the people, hence, it's not a dependable social contract. The second leg of his lecture series was an encounter with students of the Asin Fosu College of Education. Here, Vice President Kwesi Mr. Arthur gave the rationale behind the social democratic ideology and made a case for its supremacy over capitalism in the developing economy. He again schooled a session on the NDC manifesto, throwing a spotlight on how the Mahama-led government has expanded infrastructure, especially in education.
The schools are part of the infrastructure because once you pass through the school, somebody else will come and benefit from it. So for the next 100 years, Fosu College of Education will benefit Ghanaian people because it is infrastructure. We have put it there for many years to benefit many people who will pass through. So it is not something that you benefit and then we lose it. It is going to be there for many years. If you have a good foundation, you can build a good superstructure on that foundation. And we have built a foundation and we want to continue to provide a superstructure on the foundation.
He debunked the notion that feeding grants for training colleges had been withdrawn, stating that the Ghana Education Trust Fund has released in excess of 50 million Ghana cedis feeding grants to be disbursed to all training colleges in the country for the 2015-2016 academic year. Mr. Arthur said the government is working hard to end the late release of funds. Responding to questions from students, the Vice President said the government's decision to replace the teacher trainees allowance with a loan scheme was to help increase the enrollment of teacher trainees into the various colleges and to eliminate the quota system that barred many students from entering the colleges. He assured the students that the next NDC government would even do more infrastructure and create real jobs. To him, any attempt to change government posed a serious threat to the progress of the country, as Ghana was not ready for any disruptive and retrogressive change. Nto Bibiningto, GBC24, Asenfosu.
The Chief of Staff, Mr. Julius Debra, says promotion of entrepreneurship in the country is one of the major strategies contained in the NDC manifesto meant to create jobs over the next 4 years if the party retains power. The Chief of Staff made the statement in Sunyani at a forum organized by the party to explain the achievements of the ruling party over the past 4 years.
The program was part of activities lined up for the 6-day campaign tour of the Bono-Afo region by the Chief of Staff. Businessmen and women, religious leaders, traditional leaders, professionals, students and members of the security services attended the forum, which was on the theme, Thinking Together to Transform Mother Ghana. Mr. Julius Debra said government has provided the needed infrastructure and amenities such as roads, water and electricity to enhance job creation in an atmosphere of peace. The Deputy Minister for Communications, Mr. Atusapong, said the achievement of President Mahama over the past 4 years is enormous, adding that 60% of schools under trees have been eliminated as of June 2016, while 123 senior high schools have been built in various parts of the country.
The First Lady, Mrs. Lodina Mahama, has taken her outreach program to the Nswayem Health Center in the Takwa Nswayem municipality of the Western Region. The hospital benefited from assorted medical supplies and equipment. The First Lady said there is the need to promote preventive health care methods in the country. The items, which included beds, mattresses, wheelchairs, mosquito nets, baby cots, infusion sets, masks, gloves and sanitizer parts, were received by the Takwa Nswayem Municipal Director of Health Services, Mr. Emmanuel Aflekum. The Takwa Nswayem Municipal Chief Executive, Mrs. Christiana Kobna, thanked the First Lady for the gesture and appealed for support for the Takwa Midwifery Training School to enhance the quality of training in the school. The Chief of Wasachichere, Nana Kofi-Asa, urged government to take a critical look at the road network in the Nswayem area, which are in a deplorable state. He said, though the communities serve as the food basket for all major markets in the region, it is difficult to transport foodstuffs to the market. Nana Kofi-Asa called for the upgrading of the Nswayem Health Center.
Hospital Health Center of Polytechnic. Now, Ansana, never from Polytechnic, infrastructure is
The First Lady, Mrs. Lodina Mahama, said the Lodina Foundation is partnering with MedShare USA and other sponsors to procure medical supplies and equipment to support health facilities nationwide. She stressed the importance of promoting preventive health methods in the country.
It is important that Nanano and community leaders support the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Integration monthly National Sanitation Day cleanup exercise and help to sensitize residents about the need to improve public health. It is important for the public to take an interest in improving their health by making sure their immediate surroundings are conducive to healthy living.
Kajaji Senior High School in the Sene East District of the Bono-Ahafo region does not have the needed infrastructure to provide a good learning environment for its students. The school is appealing to the government to come to its aid in order to improve upon the performance of the students. This came to light when a philanthropist, Mr. Dominic Napere, donated some exercise books and sporting kits and also paid the registration fees of some final year students, totaling over 15,000 cedis.
Kajaji Senior High School, popularly known as Mighty Kajas, was established some 25 years ago as a community day secondary school. The headmaster of the school, Mr. Samuel Ejay, highlighted some of the challenges that the school face.
We need a boys' hostel. At the moment, we are using 2 classrooms as dormitories for the boys. Then also we need additional classrooms.
The district chief executive of Sene East, Francis Kofiban, said the government has given a directive for the contract to complete the school building to be re-awarded to another contractor under emergency projects. A former DCE of the area, who is also a founding member of the school, Mr. Dominic Napare, said many students drop out from school due to their inability to pay for their final examination fees. He said even though he has been supporting students over the years, the numbers keep increasing, hence his decision to pay the registration fees for all the WASI students.
Children at Osu Children's Home have been fettered by Transformational Ladies, a women's group that has a mission to help transform the lives of the less privileged in the country. The group also presented assorted food items to the home for the upkeep of the children.
Gallons of cooking oil and cartons of biscuit, among others. After the presentation, the children were given food and drinks and they danced to some music. The donors, Transformational Ladies, a group of young women, an offshoot of the National Democratic Congress (NDC), say their gesture is in fulfillment of the mission of the association, which is to transform the lives of the less privileged children in the country. The Vice President of the Transformational Ladies, Madame Susan Lai, said members of the group have found the need to support humanity in their own small way.
We seek to reach out to the needy children, youth and the aged, and offer them assistance and educational programs in the areas of personal development, health, and finally to ensure that, due to our affiliations with issues on the ground,
a social worker at the home, Madame Jemima Azonyan, said there are many needs in the home and called on all to help, especially in providing quality education for the children. She and the children commended Transformational Ladies and all other individuals and groups of people who constantly donate for the upkeep of the children in the home.
Welcome back to the news. In the business segment, the Finance Minister, Mr. Seth Terkper, says the growth in the Ghanaian economy is expected to peak in 2017. Speaking after Parliament adopted the expenditure in advance of appropriation from January to March 2017, Mr. Terkper said the coming on board of the 10 fields and the Sankofa project, coupled with sound macroeconomic policies, growth will be much better next year.
The main driver for growth, obviously, which has started with the Jubilee field, which before the decline in crude oil prices would have saw an acceleration and a subsequent decline, is going to come from 10 field, which has started, production has started. Then it will be followed by the Sankofa field. I think I heard an interview where E&I Vitor was saying that this could further be advanced. But we should also remind ourselves that the growth is not propelled, by just oil and gas. Because even though we welcome oil and gas, as we have been pointing out, it constitutes, something less than 5% of our revenues and about 1% to 1.5%, of our GDP, which means that we must keep an eye on services sector, which is growing, and continue to implement policies that would make it grow. So even when it comes to oil and gas, it is important to look at oil services to add to transportation services, financial services. Let us also remind ourselves that we have the opportunity to utilize the downstream, midstream, particularly petrochemical, to further accelerate growth. The potential for agric in particular is very important. The mixing, and I'm not a chemical, engineer or scientist, but a mix of petrochemical products with salt, as has been said, could result in, for example, fertilizer production, which could give a boost to agriculture, as we know. You also know that we just launched, an export-oriented economy through the Exim Bank, which is another, mechanism for facilitating growth, in that it would help those who want to export, particularly through export credits and export guarantee, backed by standards, and promotion. So these are the strategies we have for accelerated growth going forward.
Let's move to the Volta region now, and the Commissioner General of the Ghana Revenue Authority, Mr. George Blankson, says the profession of revenue collection and protection is constantly undergoing changes, and therefore revenue officers of the authority need to upgrade their knowledge to keep pace with the times. The Commissioner General was speaking at a passing out ceremony for 112 junior officers of the Customs Division of the GRA at Betwe.
The 112 officer cadets of the Customs Division of the GRA underwent 12 months of training at the GRA Academy at Kwetoi. They were taken through mathematics, English, French, paramilitary tactics and professional courses. They were also trained in weapon handling, physical training and drill, evaluation, examination and classification of customs goods and services, intelligence gathering, taxation and taxation laws. The officers were also exposed to challenges in the field of work through practical attachment at the various offices, ports and collection points along the country's borders. The cadets treated the audience to well-rehearsed parade drills. The Commissioner General of the Ghana Revenue Authority, Mr. George Blankson, said their training at the academy provides the foundation on which they must build their profession.
As part of the Ghana Revenue Authority's principle and policy, in addition to the pure customs training that they have had, they also spent a lot of time studying domestic income tax and administrative issues within the authority and other support services and management services skills, so that they would become a total tax person.
Junior cadets who distinguished themselves in the course of their training were presented with awards. A junior cadet, Luke Damili, took the GRA Best All-Round Award.
Welcome back. It has been projected that in 10 years' time, the Barakese Water Treatment Dam will be shut down. This will happen if decisive measures are not taken immediately to stop the serious encroachment along the catchment area of the dam. Our Ashanti regional correspondent, Nicholas Oseusu, has been following development around the dam. Let's follow him on his way on My Journey Tonight.
The government of Osaje for Dr. Kwame Nkrumah acquired a 943 square kilometer stretch of land from the chiefs of Barakese, the main catchment community of the dam, in the early 1960s, purposely for the construction of the dam. However, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah and his CPP government did not last in office to carry out the project as it was toppled in February 1966. But in view of the strategic importance of the proposed water treatment dam, the Deputy Chairman of the National Liberation Council (NLC), Mr. W.W.K. Harley, who doubled as the then Inspector General of Police, laid the foundation stone for the construction of the dam on 6th June 1969 to actualize the project. In 1970, the project was commissioned. It was designed with the capacity to pump 6 million gallons of treated water to residents in the Kumasi metropolis and its environs. Over the years, the production capacity has increased to 12 million gallons in 2010 and then to 30 million gallons a day in 2012. The plant takes its source from the 4 rivers which have been impounded. These include rivers Ofen, Jamesu and Subin. Following the construction of the dam, some of the nearby communities such as Isumeja had to be relocated for the safety of the residents and to protect the dam from negative effects. Nonetheless, many other adjoining communities were retained at their original locations. Subsequently, communities such as Ofensu Old Town, Penting, Nkwanta Kese, Mabang, Ayensua Fufu, Ayensua and the Barikese Township have become the catchment communities whose activities have direct effect on the dam. Over the years, residents of these communities as well as those from elsewhere have trespassed into the reserved lands that serve as buffer and protection for both the plant and the tributaries. A visit by our news team to the catchment areas revealed shocking levels of encroachment. Within the forest reserve, some people have clearly ignored the concrete pillars serving as the points beyond which the land users cannot farm. People have entered the buffer to engage in logging, plantation and crop farming. Perhaps one clear dangerous phenomenon in the whole scenario is the application of agrochemicals by the farmers. According to the production supervisor of the Barikese Water Treatment Dam, Mr. David Asamoah, if these chemicals are used in large quantities, they drip into the tributaries to affect the quality of the raw water for the treatment. Management of the water dam suspect residents of Barikese, which is the nearest catchment community, to be deeply involved in the menace, since according to them, it would be extremely difficult for any stranger to identify arable lands in the reserve for commercial activities. However, the chiefs of Barikese, led by Okofu Kwame Akoria, have vehemently denied the allegation, arguing that as a people who freely gave out the land for the dam project, they will be the last people to do anything that could lead to the collapse of the water treatment facility. In other parts of the dam's catchment area, some serious human activities are fast springing up at the cost of the plant. While some people have sold the lands for housing purposes, others have started illegal gold mining activities in the area. It was very clear on our visit that apart from the death traps that the illegal miners set as a result of the uncovered mine pits, the mining is done almost in the courses of the water. This is what prompted the Minister for Water Resources, Works and Housing, Dr. Kwekwa Mensah, during a recent tour of the affected catchment areas, to concede that indeed the situation at the Barikese Water Dam catchment poses a national security threat. And indeed, during a tour of the treatment plant by our news team, it was clear that these activities are already having a serious negative impact on not just the volume and the quality of the raw water available for the treatment, but the cost of treatment has also risen appreciably because a larger quantity of chemicals has to be used to treat the water.
Welcome back to the news, and this is the sports side of the news. Ghana will, for the first time since 1974, be participating in the World Junior Badminton Championship. The tournament has been set for Spain between November 1 to 14 this year.
Ghana will face Denmark, Latvia and Macau at the group stage of this year's World Junior Badminton Championship in Spain. Ghana joins 3 other African countries to battle the rest of the world from November 1st to 14th. Ghana will be making her first appearance since 1974.
After the national qualifier some months back, a team of 6 made up of 3 boys and 3 girls have begun residential camping ahead of the championship. The treasurer of the Badminton Association of Ghana, Mr. Evans Yeboah, is upbeat about the chances of the team.
There are 4 countries that have qualified from Africa, and it's the first time Ghana is participating since 1974. There are 54 countries that are participating, and we're grinding out for medals. We're in the same group with Denmark, we're in the same group with Latvia, we're in the same group with a small country on top of China called Macau. Basically, we need to qualify from that group stage to be able to gather on and move to the quarterfinal stage, and then you proceed onwards to the finals. Denmark, certainly we can equally match them, but the other 2 we can beat them. So that gives us that position on the table to be able to move towards the quarterfinal.
Some of the players are confident of bringing medals to the country.
We are really prepared, and then we wouldn't go out there just to disgrace the nation. We are ready to go and then play our hearts out. We are going to do our best.
If we go and we don't perform, we the players, we all know that it wouldn't work well for us, because we want to achieve higher goal. We want to achieve very high in badminton. Some of us have, for instance, I have the goal of becoming being part of the first 10 in the world.
Aside the trophies and medals at stake, if Ghana reaches the medal zone, the country will get 2 additional voting slots and players will be awarded academic scholarships.
In sports, the 3rd edition of the Dansoman workout has been held. The street aerobics event is aimed at sensitizing the community on the need to engage in regular physical activity.
Hundreds turned up for the October edition of the Dansoman workout session. The street aerobics event is put together by former Black Stars defender Samuel Foyo Johnson and his team of experts from the Body Fitness Center. Apart from helping burn out accumulated calories, the event also served as an avenue for socialization and networking. 3 of the aspiring members of parliament for the Ablekuma West constituency, the incumbent MP, Mrs. Esla Owusu Ekufu of the NPP, Mrs. Diana Chum of the NDC, and independent candidate Mr. Theophilus Ni Ayikwe Tete attended. Seasoned fitness experts took the participants through 2 hours of exercising. Some participants called for more.
Allow us all. I mean, if you hanging out with your I say, realize that she's not very far from this. I'm really happy about this. Encourage it.
Moment. And the instructors were wonderful. I mean, you can't have this anywhere.
Mr. Samuel Foyo Johnson was happy at the turnout.
This is the 3rd time we're doing this. And every time the number is increasing, and today's zone is more people came, and especially when our strong 2 parties, members came, it makes the thing more exciting.
Officials from the Body Fitness Center say they will occasionally organize similar events to give inhabitants the opportunity to keep fit, considering their busy work schedules which do not permit them to exercise.
Korea DPR have won the FIFA Under-17 Women's World Cup for a 2nd time. They beat Japan by 5-4 on penalties after a goalless draw in regulation time.
Welcome to the segment. A drama festival dubbed Drama Fest 2016 has been organized for some selected schools in the Accra. It was organized by Youth Arise, a youth empowerment organization. We bring you excerpts from the show.
In this country, 1 car, so that they can use to do their daily routines.
Yedi kaino semeba meye keteke kwine, meaning I'll construct railways to every cocoa farm in the country. Nobody will have to carry cocoa on their head anymore.
The drama festival was to give an opportunity to children to also express their views on happenings in the political arena as the nation goes to the polls on December 7.
Miko beside show piota ya see 50 pesos.
They drummed home the importance of peace before, during, and after the elections.
I said you hypocrite.
Choreography was also high on the bill. The participating schools were St. Augustine's JHS and Heritage Academy. Awards were given to deserving students who performed very well. St. Augustine's JHS was the overall winner for the drama competition.
As students, we want to maintain the peace because it will affect our education. If the nation is fighting and there is war, we won't be able to go to school. And if we don't go to school, there will be no future leaders. If we use this election to destroy the nation, then I don't think other nations around will respect and regard Ghana as a peaceful nation that we've been known to be.
The head of the Electoral Commission will make sure that every worker will be faithful to his or her work and will not accept any bribe which will cause the nation any harm.
The theme for the Drama Fest 2016 was a peaceful election, a prerequisite to national development. The GBC24, Winifred Accra.
A wedding ring or wedding band is a finger ring often made of metal, indicating the one wearing it is married. It also symbolizes love between two people. A wedding ring can come in many forms, traditionally made of gold or some other precious metal. Many people wear their wedding rings day and night, causing an indentation in the skin that remains visible even when the ring is taken off.
And that was the news. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back at 10:30 with This Week.